Perfect. How's everyone going today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Hope you can all hear me. Cool. Yeah, I'm good, Adam. Doing well. Just, I guess this is the first thing of the year, really. So it's interesting. We're going to be getting started off with some Android development to start off the year. So I hope you guys all are a bit excited to learn a bit about that. Hope you've all had a great break as well. I don't know about you all, but I've been doing a session 3 in it, but you know, it still doesn't feel like university, having to go into uni and stuff. So yeah, hope you've all been doing a bit of practice coding. So, all right. Well, let's not wait around for too long. Let's get started. I've got some slides for you all. As well today, we've got, this is a co-hosted event with Monash University and University of Adelaide. And I've got Jaskarat, who's my co-host from Monash, and she'll be helping out on this meeting as well. And Aditya as well, I'm not sure if he's in the call. It's from Uni of Adelaide. He's the DSC lead there as well. So it's pretty exciting to get a couple of universities joined up together to co-host an event. I'm hoping that it means that we can bring in bigger numbers and whatnot. I don't know about you guys, but obviously with the you know, the climate these days, it's a bit more difficult to stay engaged and to connect with people. And obviously it would be nice to run in-person events and things, but this is what we have for now. So I'm really excited to get this co-hosted event up and running, and I hope that we all learn something, get something out of it, and maybe, you know, make some friends on the way. That'd be great. So I'm going to share my screen. And what we're going to be doing is going through the Android Study Jams stream, what it's about, and I guess depending on your level of programming experience, there's 2 different tracks for you to follow down with follow-up courses and content, and it's all really great content. So I'm hoping that you'll get something really valuable out of it. So I'm just going to stop this. I don't know why it keeps trying to do this thing. Sorry about that. Damn computer always just freezes as soon as we start a meeting. Give me 1 sec. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna have this happen all day. I just have to, I think, force quit PowerPoint for a moment. Classic, every time you rely on your computer for something and people are watching, it doesn't work. So, all right, here we go. Let's get back into it. Perfect. Go away, I don't want you. Oh man, honestly. Where's my other one? It's lost it. Oh, amazing. Sorry about this, guys. This is a real mess around. All right, here we are. Yeah. So I'm going to go to slideshow. You can tell how often I use PowerPoint. So what are Android study jams? So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Android study jams, but I'm just going to quickly cover off, I guess, sort of, you know, it's a Google-led initiative to, I guess, try to encourage more university students, etc., to start learning a bit of Android development. We've had a few different, options for us as DSC for what content we're interested in putting out. A reason why we think Android's really exciting is that it's one of the biggest platforms, if not the biggest platform in the world, to develop on. So if you build code for Android devices, it's gonna run on a lot of devices, and that's really exciting. It's really powerful skill to have, some rudimentary understanding in that area. And so we've got two different tracks, and I'm firstly just going to cover off quickly the new programming track. So the new programming track is basically for those that want to learn the basics of building Android apps with the Kotlin programming language. And it's well fit for anyone that's never even programmed before. It'll really take you through the basics of, Android development, programming, and all of that stuff. So basically, don't fret if you aren't a coder already, because it's not going to be much of an issue. To the point where you can build an Android app that does something reasonably cool and that you can show off to people, and say put on your resume or on your of things that you've worked on. So that's really awesome. So in the new to programming track, there'll be an introduction to Kotlin. So we're going to be learning to put in Kotlin, and I will briefly, I'll go more into detail about Kotlin shortly, and how it differentiates from, say, Java, which those of you from Macquarie University might be quite familiar with Java, I'd imagine, if you've had a little bit of programming experience. So I'll cover that off, the big difference. And then the next thing you'll cover through is setting up Android Studio. I'll also show you guys quickly around Android Studio today. It's I personally, I don't think I've ever really used an IDE. The word gets thrown around a lot, but until I started programming for Flutter and Dart or Kotlin and Android, I don't think I ever really used an IDE. And I'll explain that later on by what I mean. The point is that you can't practically develop Android apps in anything but Android Studio. Just generally, and you'll see why. There's an amazing set of features that Android Studio has to allow you to run your apps directly from within Android Studio. It's pretty cool, but it's a big learning curve, at least from the get-go. And we'll set up some basic layouts and buttons and things like that. You'll learn to get user input. So say, for example, building a tip calculator app, and displaying a list of images. And, I think for a beginner to be able to progress from zero experience to this in a matter of, they're quoting here 12 hours, is pretty impressive. So that's really exciting if you want to get started with programming in 2021. So we've got a prior programming experience track. And I'm just going to quickly check the chat real quick, just in case people have been sending me messages. Just give me 1 second. Here it is. Yes. All right. So programming track. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys here are programming experience. This something that I just realized I don't think my screen's been sharing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
really
right.
annoying if that was the case.
Now it's up.
Wow. Okay. I wish somebody had told me. All right. So these slides are just basically, I'm reading off the slides. So for these ones, essentially, it's the introduction to Kotlin, creating your first app, building a layout, adding a button, getting input, and creating a screen where there's some scrolling images. So for a beginner, from someone that has had no experience to being able to do this, that's pretty awesome. And so with the prior programming experience track, essentially, how many of you have previous experience programming? How many are coming in here for the first time into new?
I've had a bit of work with Java and some C.
Bit of work with Java and C. Okay.
Well,
So, I'd like to mention that we have prizes at the end. So, by the way, I don't know if we introduced all of ourselves. I joined a bit late.
Yep.
I'm DSC lead from Adelaide. My name is Aditya Pujara, and I'm co-hosting this event with everyone else. And so, apologies for being a little bit late. I thought the time was 3:30 Adelaide time, but seems you guys are heading Sydney. So. Yeah, so by the way, just for everyone, just interact with the event because we'll be having some prizes at the end, a lucky draw and stuff like that. I don't know if you've already been mentioned this, but just wanted to put it out there.
Thanks, Aditya. Yeah, I did mention that there is going to be 6 Google Swag packs on offer today, which is really cool. And then when I cover off the course content, I will let you guys know that there'll be a JB Hi-Fi $75 voucher for the first person to finish the new to programming track for those that are new to programming. And there'll also be a voucher for the first person to finish the prior to programming track for those who are prior to programming. And these are split off. One is the Kotlin cones, and the other one is the Android new to programming track. But I'll give you guys all the links and everything, and don't worry about having to Google anything at all because I'll provide it for you all. So as I mentioned, for those of you with programming, I would say any of you that have written code, comfortable writing some code, that's you, right? So don't worry about that if you're thinking, hey, look, maybe I'm not experienced enough. Maybe I should do the beginner track. I reckon you should dive in, give it a shot, and you'll find out you're going to do pretty well. That's my opinion on the matter. But basically, so what I want to do now is cover off the rest of what the prior programming track is. So you should be familiar with using GitHub and an IDE and have worked in an object-oriented language. So that would be Java. I'm sure I'm not going to start rattling off object-oriented languages because if you know, you know. So for those of you, you'll start off with the Kotlin cones, which is a really awesome set of Code Lab courses that'll get you familiar with the Kotlin syntax. Now, Kotlin is pretty awesome. Shortly, I'll show you guys why, and I'll give you some code examples as to why I think Kotlin's pretty good and a pretty decent, you know, diversion from the traditional Java way of doing things. So what you're going to learn is Kotlin cones, of course, as I mentioned. So you're going to go through all the features of Kotlin and figure out what's powerful about it. Now, it's really like quite a modern language. There's a lot of words to get thrown around, like expressive and declarative and stuff, but it is quite expressive, as in what that means is you can get more code or less code. Realistically, you can, in less code, you can write more programming. And that's really nice because often with Java, there's a lot of boilerplate code that you have to deal with, which is, why do we have to put this in every main method, this static thing and this and that? There's a lot of things which just have to be there, but don't really have a place being there, if that makes sense. So you're going to build your first app with Android Studio as well, which is just a hello world. Now, it might sound a bit basic to build a hello world app, given that you have some prior experience, but it is actually quite a bit of a task, as I said, learning to use an IDE. And the reason why I stress IDE is because it's a proper integrated development environment where you get a lot of rich features from the IDE that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And so the next thing we'll do is build an interactive app and then start looking at layouts and more of the nitty-gritty features of how to actually build Android apps, which largely there's a fair amount of dealing with layouts, navigation, and then we have these things called activity and fragment life cycles. And so these are essentially to help deal with code and how it evolves over time. And then there's architecture components as well. And I think realistically, we shouldn't go into too much detail now because the courses are really, really good at showing you exactly how this works. It gives you code examples and then that's what works for me. I don't know about you guys, but that's what works for me. And so there's 7 badges. And so for complete badge, the database is in recycler view. For those of you who are the first to complete it, you will be able to get the JB Hi-Fi voucher. So do get on that as soon as possible. And then lastly, there's some extended stuff, such as maybe building an AI, using an AI, maybe a photo classification app. The goal here is to learn. Now, traditionally, Android was but
Has he?
Yeah, I think Pew, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think your video and audio is a little bit laggy right now. Can you hear me?
I think he's just cut out.
Seeing as how he isn't moving, I'm thinking he's gone.
Okay. I think he will join back. Alrighty, so he will be continuing with the slides, but from continuing on from what he mentioned, we'll be looking at actually doing some breakout rooms, if I'm not wrong, and we'll be, we have 3 people, so maybe breakout rooms into 3 different breakout rooms, and then we could look into actually working together on these coding things and try to get your SDK, Android SDK IDE running and things like that. So let's just wait for our main host to join back and we can continue. Just gonna send him a link and I think he's off.
Hey guys, I'm sorry about that. My internet cut out, of course.
Awesome.
All right, let's get back into it. Can you all see me now? Everything's all good?
Looking good.
Yep.
Perfect, wonderful. All right, I'll go back to sharing my screen. So, as I said,
jumping in for a sec, I mentioned to everyone else that we'll be doing some breakout rooms. Maybe towards the end or between the event, we can just break out into 3 different rooms because we have 3 different co-hosts.
Perfect.
Then we can actually go over setting up all your IDEs and getting you started with everything so that we can get straight into Android development.
Cool. Sounds like a plan to me. All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll get this stuff covered off, and then we can get set up with splitting out into breakout rooms. That's a good idea. All right. So I was going to ask a question for you all. What is your favorite programming language, and why would you make that statement?
I mean, personally, I prefer to work with Python. That's because it is the easiest to work with.
Yeah.
But I do understand it comes with quite a lot of comes with a bit of overhead, you could say, for the least.
Yeah, definitely. Can agree with that.
I would have also said Python, but that's just because I've done a lot of like data science units recently. So it's the one I've been spending the most time with.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good language. That's probably one of my picks as well.
The one I've been working with recently is actually C++, but that's it's okay.
It's a bit rough around the edges, I hear. The old C++. I mean, Python is actually a really good language to make an example of, because I think, you know, like Python's probably a good way of comparing the difference between Kotlin and Java. I think Kotlin is more approaching Python-esque style of coding, which it's less clunky, it's less, you know, there's less boilerplate essentially. So now the reason why I asked that is I wanted to highlight a big feature of Kotlin. Now, I know one of my professors at Macquarie, he and probably every other professor argues that null safety was the biggest mistake made in Java. The fact that there is a null reference in Java has led to an infinite amount of frustrations. I think if you've ever programmed in Java, you've most absolutely certainly seen a null pointer exception at some point in your development life. And it's a pain in the ass. It's, you know, SQL injection. It's incredibly easy to do, incredibly easy to make the mistake, and it happens time and time and time and time again. And you can always blame the developers, but realistically, sometimes it's maybe a better choice to blame the language. And Java, for that sense, has been a bit of a letdown in terms of how it handles nulls. And so the big difference here is that I've lost a part of my slide there. So basically, I think his name is Doug Hoare, and he was the writer of the quicksort algorithm. So he regards null references, and he was the inventor of the null reference. He regards it as $1 billion mistake and probably the worst choices of his career. And now basically Kotlin partially does away with the null reference that is in Java by introducing a typed system that can differentiate between nullable and non-nullable references. So that sounds very jargony, but how does that work in terms of code? And now you know you're really learning to write code when you actually prefer to read code than to read some silly paragraph. So let's have a look at this right here. We've got this declaration here where we're saying variable foo is a string, and then we're initializing it with hello world. Now, if we say that foo is equal to null, we're going to get a compilation error. And that's because it has null safety. We simply can't make it null by default. However, there's a nullable type. And this is where we introduce the question mark character. So we make the same declaration. We're saying var bar is a string type and that it's nullable, right? And then we're initializing it with that. And so now when we set it to null, it's completely fine. Now there's more features in Kotlin relating to null safety, but that's the main one. And that's how you can get around, I guess if you're coming from Java land and you're used to having nulls and you maybe want to use nulls, they still exist. But the point is that most of the time you might not have to deal with them at all, which is a fantastic, oh, there we are. There you go. That was Tony. All right. So
just
what is
question- just a
Yeah.
question there. So used var instead of just announcing the type. Is there some type inference in Kotlin at all, or is it just var and then type?
So there is type inferencing, and I believe it's quite good, actually. It's not like Java where you have to specify types. However, it gets really messy when we start talking about like JDK 16 and 15. I think they're up to 16 now, because Java really does quite a lot these days, but nobody uses it because they're all modern features. And I believe that Java actually does all that stuff now too, the type inferencing in recent versions of JDK.
Oh, okay.
But most languages should do that now. But it generally is pretty good to specify type. I think at least for code readability, I think specifying types is generally the right way to go about it, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, thanks.
So, what is Kotlin? Well, Kotlin is to sell Kotlin to you guys. It's a modern programming language that helps developers be more productive. But you know, that's just fluff. What it is it's a derivative of Java, like Scala, for example. It's an upgrade with extra features such as concurrency and this null safety and all these things. These little issues that Java developers had, and a lot of Java developers developed Android apps, funny enough, because it's such a popular platform. And so they basically went and said, you know what, there's so many Android developers out there, so many Android phones, maybe we need to make a language for Android development. And that's what they created. So that's how Kotlin began. It began as something that was necessary in the industry because at the end of the day, Java just wasn't doing it. It was too messy. And last thing you want to do is to be a company that's got to develop an app. And this has happened before. If you've ever noticed why Android apps suck compared to iPhone apps, it's one part of it, and the large part is the user base, right? But the other part was that maybe the Java environment wasn't fantastic for Android development, and it wasn't. So we've improved it with Kotlin, and things look like they're getting better. Now let's dive into some code, because essentially I just want to cover off some basic Kotlin code, just so we can all get a bit of familiarity about how it works. So already I feel like this reminds me of a mashup between Python and Java. It's still got some of the declarativeness that Java has in Kotlin, given that it's a Java derivative. However, they've added a bit of expressiveness, which is the Python-esque style of coding, to make it so that you can write things in a shorter amount of code.
And I think
Of course,
for students of the University of Adelaide, we've been dealing with a lot of C++ and C, and I
C++.
think and the curly brackets and things like that remind us of our language that we've been commonly using. But also Python, like there is a crossover a little bit from what from the looks of it. You can see that it's a bit more expressive, like you mentioned, and a lot more easier than I reckon to use than Java, like you mentioned with the null and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that it's so the C language you know, Java is a C program essentially.
Yeah.
Like to put it really bluntly, Python is a C program as well. And so they all borrow. That's where you get this print line. That's actually a C program.
Yeah.
That's being used in. So the curly braces is like a direct lineage from C, I'd say. So funny you notice that, because yeah, we're all basically in the C family still. We haven't really left. Wait till you get to Lisp languages.
Yeah, it's all derived from C, and I reckon people who are familiar with, like, the most common languages around, like C++, Python, C, would be easy. It would be easy to jump over straight into Kotlin.
Yeah.
That difficult. Yeah.
And essentially instead of DEF, we have FUN. That's the difference. Now in Python land, they don't have braces; they have indentation. So you'd
Correct.
put a colon and you'd have an indentation. However, here we have braces. Now, I don't know. Let's not get into it. I kind of like braces more, but that's just me. All right, so it produces hello world. Now, what did we notice about Kotlin? Well, I think we've already discussed that. So let's move on. So we're going to look at parameters and return types. Now, this, funny enough, is something you can actually do with Java now in very recent versions, which is actually specify these return types within the method declarations. So this was a really compelling reason to use Kotlin, and it still is, because with Java, you're probably going to get stuck using an older JDK perhaps, and you won't get these features. And yeah, it's a good reason to use Kotlin. This makes life so much easier. Can we guess why I think this is a really good feature to have? I was going to say that it makes the code a lot more readable. One of the issues with browsing source code and reading someone else's code is, what types does it take? How do I interact with this function? How do I make use of this function, this person's code, right? Having types directly specified within function declarations right there, it takes two integers and it returns an integer. I mean, it couldn't be any more straightforward. So that's a really cool feature of Kotlin, and this adds to its kind of expressiveness. It's less code, more information.
Oh, I was about to say that like most languages do that. Sorry, most languages that got branch of C, at the very least.
Yeah. That's something that is welcome these days, I reckon.
That's true. And can we touch base upon also, do we need to put in the type of the variable that we're getting out? Do we need to do that, or do we not? Let's touch base on that as well.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I would imagine, and this is what my assumption is here, if you can specify the types, then you can not specify the types.
Yeah, so from what I've read through, and basically this is documentation that I've been reading through. So the thing is, there is a difference between Python and Kotlin just in this sense, is that in Python you can get away with, like, you don't have to, and people don't really declare their return types. Kotlin you sort of have to, but it's sort of, like you mentioned, makes your lives a lot more easier in terms of reading. So it's a trade-off, but I reckon it's a good one in favor of Kotlin, of course.
I probably I think it's really handy when we're building larger scale applications like Android apps to be specifying types. I think Python's a very good scripting language, but yeah, Kotlin's a great programming language too for that reason.
Absolutely.
So the other big difference. And now, again, Java, recent versions of Java and many programming languages do offer these kinds of features. However, it's a very nice addition to the Kotlin language is immutable variables. Now, as you see here, we can declare a variable and give it a type of integer. However, we can also create an immutable variable and we give it the specification value. And so that can only be assigned once and it cannot be changed or reinitialized at any point. So it's really handy for a variety of reasons, especially when you're doing stuff like concurrency and other operations where you don't want side effects in your data. And that is when things happen to your data that you don't expect, and then you go to process it and it gets all messed up. So that's something that immutable variables are really good for. Now, I'd say the most interesting difference between these two declarations is that we haven't actually specified a type, if you've noticed. So Kotlin will infer types, and it is quite nice that it does that. And yes, immutable variables are like constants in C++. It is an almost one-to-one correlation with constants, maybe with a few features added in, but pretty much it is what you refer to as a constant. Now, as I said, type inference is a first-class feature in Kotlin, so that makes your life a lot easier, which is for those of you that like programming in Python, you might quite appreciate this as a feature. Now, the other thing is that we haven't even specified a semicolon, which is another nice feature of Kotlin, is that you can get away with not writing semicolons in certain occasions, very certain occasions. Now, here we are going to have a look at a typical control flow structure, which is an if, else if, and else statement. Essentially, the else is a catch-all. And now this can be much better replaced with lambda. And this is this in Kotlin, we use a when keyword to indicate this sort of lambda. So when X, and this is almost like a switch statement, but a lambda style switch statement. It's very nice. And as I said, very expressive. In less code, you can write more stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but this one is a bit easier to read than that one. Now, classes are also slightly different. And so we can actually have immutable variables inside classes, which is really cool. And so that gives us more, more ability to do different things with our code and with our classes than we did have in Java. So this is sort of almost like creating a synchronized class in Java. We're actually creating a class with a single immutable variable and it cannot be changed. So once this class is initialized, it's got a square and you can't change it at any point in time. It's probably significantly easier to use than, say, the way that you might do it with Java and synchronizing and all of these different keywords, which again, as I said, more expressive, less boilerplate to do the same amount of code. We also have collections and we have a map, we have a set, and we have a list. And these are really nice. The way that we declare these in code are really nice. It's a very nice syntax. And we can also have immutable collections as well.
So we have a question here in the chat.
Yeah.
So it's from Teak. He's asked if the immutable variables are like constants in C++.
Yeah, sorry, I did answer that. They are,
okay.
there is pretty much a one-to-one correlation there between a constant and immutable variables. In fact, I'd argue that largely it's probably exactly the same. maybe there's a few more features added on top, and then it's kind of sold with a different word, but it essentially is a constant. There's really no other way of putting it. So that's a good statement to make. All right, so we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. And the reason why is that, well, I just bombarded you guys with a whole bunch of talking and code. So I feel like you might all want to maybe go grab a drink or something. So it'll be about 2 minutes, and then we'll get back into it. Actually, let's give it 5 minutes. What do you guys think? It's up to you. 5 minutes sounds good?
Yeah, I reckon 5 minutes is a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 minutes is
Perfect.
probably better, so we can probably go to the toilet and whatnot.
I'm gonna
And
put
while
a little
everyone's on a
timer.
break, do you want to organize the breakout rooms real quick?
Yeah, can do that. So how does this work? Okay. All right, can I just have a countdown? That works for about 5 minutes, and then buttons end up in all the wrong places. What we need is a system of design to set things like padding and layout and etc. If you've ever used HTML before, you might recognize what I'm talking about. So let's get started and finish the break. I'm hoping that everyone is in this room now and not in a breakout room. Should we double check that?
Yeah, we've got 18.
Okay, perfect. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the break. Let's get back into it by exploring some layouts in Android. So as I said, what is a layout? Well, a layout, it defines the basic structure for a user interface in your app. And here's an example here with an iPhone of a layout and a view. Now, a view is obviously, you know, it's just a terminology for, you know, something that the user interacts with, a screen. You can call it anything you want. But in Android land, we call it a view and a layout. So we have Android user interfaces. And so as I said, we have a layout and we have a view. And this would be quite similar in terms of HTML, right? So the layout is sort of like the CSS, and the views are more like the HTML elements themselves. And I'd imagine that this layout thing is a bit of the combination between HTML and CSS, but the view is the actual content of what you're displaying, and the layout specifies how everything should be. So we have two different kinds of layouts. One of them is a linear layout, and one of them is a relative layout. And so a linear layout is essentially like the box grid model, I believe it's called, the Flexbox model in CSS, where it's kind of like everything's aligned in a single direction, either vertically or horizontally. And it's sort of like everything is flexible based on the size of the elements next to them. Now, relative layout is a layout that will display child views in relative positions. So you've got like a main layout, and then you have these child layouts below that kind of just fit themselves in wherever they can fit. But think about it like this layout we've got here. You might have your main application or a main screen with information, and then you have a little blurb here and maybe a next button, for example. And you just want this little blurb and next button to fit in nicely underneath your main content. Now we also have a text view, an image view, and a button, and these are different components within the Android ecosystem. So you can imagine what a text view is and what an image view is and what a button does as well. Now, layouts in Android are done with XML. So instead of CSS, we use XML to do layouts, CSS and HTML. And so XML is, it's most closely related to HTML. And arguably, it's maybe a bit of a downside of Android development. However, that's what they use. And so overall, it's not very complicated. It's quite well, we'll see here basically. So we've got an XML file, and what we're doing is we're specifying an attribute, and then we're giving it a bunch of properties. And so we've got a text view, and then we give it an ID, we give it a width and a height. It's very similar to essentially combining HTML and CSS into one little concise little bit of code. Now, let's get started. We're going to have a look at setting up an IDE. So I guess we can start splitting up into breakout rooms now. And beyond that, once we've got our IDs set up or we have a bit of a brief idea, we can start going from there about actually learning how to build Android apps. So I'm going to get you guys to all split off now, and then we'll give you a quick demonstration in the breakout room about how this all works. So
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Alrighty. So we'll be looking into setting up our IDEs. So how many of you, maybe we'll just start off with a brief question. How many of you have actually got experience with any programming language at all? So anything, any language?
I've got a little bit, mostly Python recently.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I use Python as well.
Fantastic. So, well, I'm also quite into Python, so I've actually used Python most of my coding time. And at university, we use C++, so I have a bit of an experience in both. So it might be helpful if you guys have any questions related to how we set up, and how we'll be getting into the actual setup of the language as well. But you can always ask me, and right now I'll start off with setting up the actual IDEs. So depending upon your machine, it will come up straight away anyway. You can go up onto this website right here. Let me just send you the link. So we need to get Android Studio. And once you get it downloaded on your computer, I'll share my screen as well so that we can all see what we get once we open up the website. So can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. Yep. So I'm using Linux. All you got to do is click the green button and you'll be able to see the Android Studio coming up as a download on your screen. Once you get that, and I'll wait for like around 1 or 2 minutes, and I think everyone should be able to get it. We can get started on setting up the IDE straight away. Awesome. So I'll just get mine ready to show it to everyone. 1 sec. And yeah, if anyone's using Linux, just let me know. There's an extra step that we all have to do with Linux. So just checking, is anyone here using Linux? Or I'm gonna take that as a no. So how many of us have got the Android Studio downloaded and up and running?
I got it.
Awesome. Let's just
Yep,
wait for,
mine's just finishing up.
no worries. We'll just wait for 1 more minute and then once everyone's ready, we can get started straight away. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go over starting up the Android Studio. Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you've already done this, sorry, I'll just be taking 1 more minute then. But otherwise, if you haven't done this before, we're starting up with the first screen of Android Studio. So it's a wizard that will set up the whole thing for you. So let's just get started. So next, standard installation is what we'll be doing because obviously we just want the standard utils that we need. Maybe in the future, we'll be looking to custom utils. Set up whatever background you like, the UI theme, and review all your settings. Next. And let's go. So that'll do the setup that it needs to do. I'm assuming with Linux, it sort of will take more time because it has to do, I had to do one more extra step. So if anyone's stuck and they're using Linux, let me know. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward, just following what we need to do. And let's just wait for this to get done. While we're at it, quick question. What's your favorite Android app? Let's do this as a bit of an icebreaker sort of thing. So what's your favorite Android app?
That's actually a tough one.
Tough one? Yeah, quite a few. Eh? I don't know. Maybe I'll just go with Google.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Chrome. It's
Chrome.
like whatever search. Like that's probably what I spend the most time on. Or
Agreed.
YouTube. They own my life.
Yeah, YouTube.
Actually, no. Discord's been good.
Oh yeah, Discord. Yeah, completely forgot. Yeah, Discord, absolutely. Discord recently takes a lot of my time. But for sure, like you know, the search engine itself, like and our browsers on Android. I'm using in Samsung, so I end up having a bit of bloatware. Comes up with the internet browser that we're supposed to have, the Samsung internet browser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, then technically my favorite app would be the Razer Chroma app on my phone.
Ah, you got a Razer phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty sick. I don't know. I actually
They
tried to
stopped.
buy
They,
one here.
yeah, they stopped making them. The I wouldn't be quick to recommend it. Like it's been great for if you're like obviously games or like we watch a lot of media on it because that's what I do a lot. But the charging port is basically, well, it hasn't fully stopped working, but it's very temperamental at the moment, and I've had it for like not quite 2 years yet.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like the charging port becomes loose, and apparently it's a really common thing.
Oh, that's surprising. I was actually used to hearing about Razer being really good with their quality and everything. So
They normally are. I
Oh.
think it's just like whatever bit they used for the actual USB-C charging port, because I ended up having to swap, like a lot of people. Like I had like 18 months before it showed any issues, so I'm not that fast.
Yeah.
But it's the actual like Razer charger that came with it won't charge it anymore because it like sits too loosely in it. So I'm using it literally like all the charging I'm doing on it is with a battery pack just because the cable I have is thicker and
Okay.
like the connection is like, yeah. But I mean, it depends. Like if you're using wireless charging anyway,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's been fantastic, but I can sort of see a few of the reasons why they would have, because they only made 2 phones They did like a first one, they did one revision, and then they've basically not made any more since
Yeah.
because they can't really compete on.
I mean, the Pixel is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's it, right? It's like the phone market isn't really somewhere that Razer can really like
yeah,
innovate too much.
exactly. They've got a good competition going on itself in the computer side of things, but
Yeah,
Android is a bit like, there's too many brands. So
yeah, and it's like they were like, oh yeah, cool, we've got a 120 hertz display, so they were like because they like obviously being like the first to have the fastest or the whatever it is, and then all the other companies making phones were like, oh, we can do that, like
yeah,
easy.
agreed.
So
And I think considering that we're developing apps for Android, we've also got to make sure because I've been using a lot of Android apps and some of them are old. So when you end up using old Android apps, you would experience that some of them, they're a bit glitchy on newer phones, and if they are, they're not good for your model as well. So for example, my Samsung has a wider screen, so some apps are just not optimized. You know how you have websites which you can use on different computers through Bootstrap, and they still look the same because even if the monitor size changes and stuff like that, we sort of need to take into account those things as well, considering using different Android devices when you're actually developing apps for a market that's so big, as big as Android. So
yeah, true.
So yeah, we're done. Finish. And so it will come up with the welcome to Android Studio section. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and ask everyone, what are you guys up to? So have you been able to get up to the screen, or are we at some other point? We can go over it.
I'm at that one at the moment, but I started downloading it a bit before. So
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Is anyone else at the screen? Or
I think I'm at the last part of the setup wizard.
okay, the last part. Awesome. Isaac, Kelvin. I'm not sure if you guys have spoken anything, but I just checking on you guys whether you're on the same.
My internet's pretty slow, so I'm still downloading it.
No worries. Matthew, Pratik, Jaspreet, if you guys are on the same page, just give us a heads up. We can continue, or we can stay back a little bit, wait for everyone to catch up as well. All right. So maybe we'll just wait for a few more seconds. And if you're still downloading, that's all good. We'll just come back to you. If you've got any questions with the setup, just let us know. We'll be happy to help you out straight away. So yeah, so just for setting up right now, we would just go ahead with creating a new project. But you'll notice that there's quite a few features. So you can also profile, debug, and APK. So if you're someone who's interested in exploitation of existing tools and stuff, or applications, or rebuilding them from scratch and stuff like that, you can just always look through instead of, because I think there's a couple of tools available that you can use to actually go back and see the packages within the APK. This is also one of the features of Android Studio. It will help you do that straight away from the studio. So I think it's really cool. Alrighty, start with a new project. Okay, so this is the really good bit about Android Studio. A lot of apps have a lot of common features. Actually, I don't know if I'm recording this. Am I actually recording this? One sec, sorry. Gotta make sure.
yeah, it's recording.
Oh, awesome. Alrighty. So yeah, so a lot of apps have very standard features. So basic activity. For if you have used something like common apps, where you're supposed to make a new post or something like that. You know, the plus icon, we've seen that in a lot of places on Android. So basic activity, as we all know, just creating a new thing. So you've got a standard plus icon, back button, an options bar, navigation, empty activity. So basically, if you want to start away straight from scratch, sort of thing, but gives you a little bit of a background as well. So with the back button and things like that. Full screen, ads, Google Maps activity. You know, there's quite a few. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And also you get options to build apps, because Android, it goes is not built just for, you know, phones and tablets. We're building it for Wear OS, Android TV, looks like even cars, and that's IoT, I'm assuming. So a lot of different branches that we'll be building towards. So you can always start away from any of the particular ones that you are interested in building through. So let's just start up with the basic activity. Let's see what we get. So the application name. So I don't know if you guys have ever actually looked into your folders and actually been through all the different apps and the folders that you get. But this is a very common way of representing the package name, or the name of the application in the form of like when you go into your file browser, you'll be able to see which. So this section tells you which company or which person or who developed this program or this Android app, and this is the name of the application. So if you're interested, you can always go into your file browsers and actually see. And every single package uses the same format. So one sec. Thank you. Sorry for that, guys. Remote working. So yeah, package name goes here, the name of the organization that built it, and this is just .com standard. Save location and language we're using. So we're using Kotlin. Let's go with that. And also you get options to build based on the SDK you want to build it towards. So we'll just go with the latest one. And so it tells you as well. So it will run on 99.8% of devices, which is really good, because when you're building an app from scratch and you want to know that you want to hit, most of the market, if you don't really know the Android versions and you don't want to build towards the latest one, you can find out, okay, so, can KitKat, like how many machines will it run on? So that it's 98.1%, which is pretty cool. So approximate feature is pretty cool. And use legacy Android support libraries. So this is basically for legacy options. So as we all know, that's just to make compatibility and stuff easier between older versions of Android. So you don't need to have that. We'd be just starting off from scratch, a new application. So let's just go with this. So the name, package name, location, language, and the API. So Android 4.1. Let's go. Finish. And it'll bring up the toolbar. All right, so this is basically, it's a lot like an IDE. If you've used the JetBrains IDEs that they give you, so PyCharm, if any of you have actually used it before, it's pretty cool. So JetBrains has actually made Kotlin, and so you'd expect that the libraries look a lot more similar. I mean, the IDEs look a lot more similar as well. So, alrighty. So let's just close this down. Okay, so because I chose a standard activity, it brought up all of this code by itself. This is good because it tells you, like if you're not used to building through, something like Kotlin, it will give you a good idea of what to expect. Also, if you're using something that's already been made, like in the libraries, we saw the plus icon and things like that, the back button. When we chose the application type, it was good because we don't now have to actually build a plus icon by ourselves. We don't have to reinvent the build every time. We can straight away just get it from the applications page and get it to run. So I've been talking a lot. So I just want to hear from you guys. Where are you up to? And if you're all on the same page, if you guys have any other questions about the setup procedure of Android Studio. Oh, and stay hydrated. It's really hot, at least in Adelaide. So you got questions, anyone? Anyone have anything to share, or if you're stuck? I haven't actually been looking at the chat. Okay, cool. Set it up. Awesome. All right. Just let me know if you all are ready with the setup. Then we can move possibly into main room. I'll ask if everyone's ready as well with the main room. In the main room with setting up. But so Isaac, Kelvin, Matthew, Pratik, Jaspreet, Mohammed, are you guys
Okay.
done with your setup?
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm going through the wizard right now.
No worries. Perfect. So I'll just check in with Bu if they're also done with this, and we can possibly jump into the main room then. Oh, okay. You're getting an error. Can you? Okay, yeah. It's so Pratik is getting an error to do with, I think, I'm guessing it's drivers for your machine, but it shouldn't be a problem. Yes, but if you do get an issue, give me a shout out. I'll be here. So I'll be right back. I'll just jump into the main room and see if everyone's done as well. And then we'll just jump into the main room. While you're at it, if you've already done the setup and if one of your mates is struggling, try to help them out. I'll be right back in a sec. Yeah, so we'll be running into the main room a bit later. I think around he'll be sending in a invite back into the main room in a few minutes. But yeah, so everyone's done. Everyone's ready. We're actually ahead of them. We finished the setup before they did, so that's pretty good. So maybe while we're waiting, we can have a look at what's going on here. So this is pretty cool. You'd notice that you have this folder straight away made up for you with everything. We'll be going over this in the actual the main presentation. But if you were to look into these different folders, so you'll notice that there's quite a few things already made up for us. So because we chose the the build my application from standard settings option. So we got the standard main activity kit, the activity package sort of thing. So it came up with all the things that we need. But you'll notice that it's already built in with the com.example.myapplication. So when we were done with the project and we've actually built the whole thing, this whole folder, the whole app folder, would jump over into in a way we uploaded sort of thing into Google Play. If we were to put it on Play itself. Awesome. So all breakout rooms are closing in 50. So Bu, some good news from us. We're all set up with the Android Studio. I think you're on mute, Bu.
Okay, I am on mute. Thanks for mentioning that. So how did it go? You guys all feel pretty confident about getting set up? Get to go through any of the features of Android Studio or?
Yeah, we did. So towards the end, we sort of went over standard packages that we sort of get. We started up with a sample standard application. So with the plus icon and things like that, the back button already built in. But we also went over the fact that the standard Android sort of feature where every application has to set up with a com.package name, package name and then application name.
Mhm.
So then you would have like something like, if it's a search bar, then you would have com.google search bar.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we went over that and just sort of went over it in brief. But I think it's important because we're developing towards Android, and this is the standard way of naming our applications.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually mentioned that as well. And I actually showed that it was just a bunch of nested folders.
Yeah, exactly.
Had it.
Same thing. Yeah, we did the same thing.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's magic.
It's like we planned it, but we didn't.
Yeah, we actually did. Guys.
Well, I'm thinking, so what we need to do before we go is we need to take everyone's names down, and we're going to do a random draw to see who gets the Google Swag packs, who gets lucky today. And before we do that, I will just finish going through the rest of getting set up with Android developers or the Google developer profile. There's a few steps, and it's really good because whenever you do these courses and things, you're going to earn badges. So in the same way that you can get AWS certified or Cisco certified, and you can show off these badges on your LinkedIn and things like that, you can show off these Google badges as well. And they're really good because, it can say, look, I just completed the Android programming track, and you can put that on your LinkedIn. And it's a really great way of showing people that you are, self-learning, you know what you're doing. I can't think of any other better way to do it, really. That's
and yeah, maybe I'll just go over the setup for the course as well, so people can get started with the setup of the Android Study Jam and the courses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I'll just share my screen and let's get started. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, let's get started. So I don't know if you guys have already made an account, but this is an awesome, way to start developing with Android. So you can link this in the chat, but this is the official sort of place where you can learn Android, Kotlin, development for Android. And as Bu mentioned, it's a great way to get certified as well. And along the way, we'll be tracking your progress, and we'll be having a few workshops like this in the future. but at the moment, we'll be tracking your progress across all the different attendees and everyone who joined in, and looking into how far you've gone with your badges. So there is a badge sort of program that you get. And the first badge that you get as soon as you join in is the Android development badge, which is pretty cool. So let's jump over to the website and let's see what we've got. So we've got let's say g.co. Wow, I'm bad. Android, yep, study champs. Awesome. So we can jump on the website, and so there's quite a few options. So and I think this is pretty good because if you're new to programming, there's a separate course for you, and it will actually help you set up the Android Studio, which we've already done, so you can skip that. But you'll be learning basic Android as well as basic programming before you get involved with Kotlin. And I think that's a good track for someone who hasn't got experience with programming at all. But if you've got somewhat of a prior experience, if you've developed with a complicated language like C or C++, or even a language like Python or Java, you can start away straight with the Kotlin colons, or you can just jump over into the basics of Kotlin and do the Android Kotlin Fundamentals course, which will help you build a variety of apps in Kotlin, as we plan to do. So jump over here. And so, yeah, this is what we'll be tracking. So there are quite a few earnable badges, and there's 2 units. So first off, this is a really good practical experience as well, because you'll be building Android apps, 5 different Android apps. So it's hands-on, and you'll be looking into different UI settings, layouts, nav paths and stuff. And in the unit 2, it goes a bit more in depth. And like I mentioned in my room, making your app more accessible for all users. And I mentioned in my room, and I don't know if this was mentioned already in the other rooms, but basically, you know how websites are built to be, there's bootstrap, so you can actually have your website work on different devices. This is similar with apps, because you don't want to end up having, I don't know if you've had the experience before, but some games, some old games and some old apps on Android tend to have a black bar. They're not optimized for the new phones and stuff like that, or the new OS itself, so they just don't run. So we want to make sure that our app is actually more accessible to all the users. And so this is where the unit 2 comes in, actually teaches you in-depth architecture components, and also making your app more accessible to everyone. So there's 10 badges, and we'll be keeping track of it, and may the winners win. Awesome. Bu, you want to take over from here?
Yes. Sorry, I'm just dealing. There's buttons all over my buttons. All right, cool. So I was actually just quickly filling out this little random wheel thing. So actually, Addy, do you want to just keep going for 1 more minute and I'll finish this off?
Oh yeah, sure.
We have done this through an Android app.
Yeah, I think you're building the okay, so this is for the random draw. That's pretty cool. Alrighty.
It's better than writing my own program to do it.
I was about to ask, why don't you try to make your own?
Well,
simple.
I did use someone else's one time, and that was okay, but I think the code wasn't perfect, and there was some people complaining. But look, you can sue this wheelofnames.com people instead of me now. I've removed that responsibility from myself. I didn't write the algorithm, so not my fault. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna.
No worries. While we wait, how about we all just jump over and actually get started with the first unit?
Yep. I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the first unit. So click on Explore. Let's see what we get. So build your first app straight away, interactive and hands-on. For those people who actually have no prior experience, like I mentioned, there's the other route, but we'll just start away straight from building our first app. So we've already done this. So you can actually go over to CodeLab. CodeLab is like the Google's sort of interactive section where, just like our workshops, it's a great way to actually get involved, and it's pretty straightforward if you don't have someone with you. It has all the instructions you need to actually set up things. So if any of you have had trouble setting up Android Studio and we could help you or something like that, or if you have set it up and you plan to set up on another machine, you can go over and look over to the instructions. But it's pretty straightforward. So we've done this CodeLab, so I'm just going to dismiss this and we're done. Alrighty, getting started. So let's jump over to another CodeLab and creating our first app. Okay. So for people from my room, we actually did this. We started developing with the standard template. We chose the one with the plus button with a few extra features, but I don't think it really matters because these features can be easily copied over and you can add them through by opening a new file and adding the features straight away from Android Studio, pulling them in. So task. So we're creating a Hello World project. One sec, I don't know why it's not sharing. Can you guys see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay.
It was sharing, it was fine.
Oh, okay, one sec. Yeah, awesome. So, so we'll start with the Hello World project. So if you haven't got Android Studio open, you can open it up, and we've already got it open, so we can just jump here. One sec. All right. So we've chosen the project. They're asking you to choose the empty activity. For the purposes of the CodeLab, you can go ahead and choose the empty activity, but we've already got this open, so I'll just continue with that and click on next. We chose the basic activity, so it's not a big deal. It's not much of a difference. So yeah, configuration. Bu, have you already been through this, the package name and stuff like that? So then I'll just skip that.
I did actually. I showed them how to refactor and then rerun the build, the Gradle build, just to demonstrate why an IDE is a valuable thing.
Yeah.
I think the point that I made was that I don't feel like I've ever really used an IDE until I started programming, well, either way in Android Studio, either it being Flutter and Dart or Android and Kotlin, because you've got these awesome features like being able to hot reload code, rebuild these projects after you refactor them, all these things, just by clicking a few buttons in the toolbar, which is super awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so and I also mentioned, so we'll be choosing the minimum. So there's a minimum API level of KitKat so that you can approach at least 95% of devices in the market, 95 Android devices in the market. But we went ahead and developed for the first, which is the latest one, Jelly Bean, I think. And that allowed you to run your app on approximately 99%, which is pretty awesome. So, okay, so basically so all you had to do is either you want to put in your own name for your application. So, the package name, so in this case, Android, and the name of the application and .com. They've given it the other way. So this is basically for the company domain sort of thing, but it's basically reversed. So it'll be .com. So .com, then you have the name of the package and then the name of the application. Save location, language Kotlin. Yeah, let's continue. So the project's pane. So we've been through this a little bit. Let's go through it in detail. So the project pane or tab is basically the section where you have all the folders which contain everything related to your application. If you were to choose the empty activity, you wouldn't see three of these files. You would only see one, which is the main activity. But these first fragments, these are just sections of the app. So like the plus button, the toolbar section, and things like that. So, and it's pretty easy to understand as well. It's like our common IDEs if you've used Visual Studio Code or I'm not sure with Sublime, but I think it's similar. So yeah, and if you want to view the project as a standard Android project, select Android, which we've already done, and explore the app. So there's 4 folders, and we can see that here: manifest, Java. We've got generated Java and res. So Java folder holds all the main code base for the application. So you will see there's 3 different of them, 3 different ones. And if you want to go over into our com.example my application, the main activity, like I mentioned, holds the main code that builds all the other sections, all the different fragments of the app as well. So main activity is where everything's stored and everything is built. And these are just like, extra functions sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. It divides it up into different parts. So the res folder. So these are resources, as the name suggests, res. You have your menu, map. Of course, it will depend upon the type you've chosen. So if it's completely empty, you'll see less. So they've shown you what sort of stuff you can see. So you'll notice that you've got your drawable layout. That layout is the layout of the actual application. So activity main, like you mentioned, XML is the basics of the UI that you use for Android, Kotlin sort of thing, and for developing with it. So you'll notice that it's all the files in the UI section, layout section, or XML, because that's primarily what we're using to build the UI. Activity main, this is the main activity page. So if you were to look in an Android app, the first page that you see with all the different options is the activity main. Obviously, it would depend upon the app, so you can change these things around. If your app were to have something where a start screen would just be the logo, and then the other screens would be the specific things you need, such as other options and other tabs and stuff, then the activity main would be different. But in general, it holds all the main features, and you can use that activity main to go and use the other fragments of the code. So yeah, so your activity is usually associated with a UI layout file defined in XML. And yeah, so the layout activity is usually named after the activity. So main activity is basically activity main. But you can obviously change these things. So explore the manifests folder and the Android manifests XML. Just bring this up. So Pew, do you want me to go over manifest? Because this is going to take a while. Or have you already got your thing running?
I've got my thing running. I think if we want to cover off the manifest now, or do we want to leave this sort of information for people to cover off in the code lab?
Yeah, I think I was just going over it in basics, but I reckon it'll be better if people also read through. But if people have questions, we've all of the, I don't know about Melbourne, but I think they do, but all the different DSCs have their own Discords. So you can just jump over into these Discords. Most of us have a workshops channel. We've got a workshops channel. Just send us a message in the workshops channel and ask us, if you've got issues with any of the, building the app or anything to do with the code lab or anything in general to do with the development of the application. Let us know and we'll help you through it. But I reckon also it's a good way to self-learn because you'll be able to grasp more things and hold them for longer.
Yeah, I definitely think it is great to go through the code labs, mostly because you're marrying step step-by-step sort of guidance with code. And I feel like that is a really fantastic way to learn.
Absolutely.
And being able to see a lot of things when often appear very complicated, but then when it's explained to you, it's a lot more simple than we realize. So I'm going to run this little spinny wheel thing now. So
Can you
let's
share
see.
your screen?
Yeah. I'll share my screen. All right. So can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm going to click to spin, and we will. We're going to see.
How many people do we have for the prizes?
So we've got 6 Google Swag packs to give out today.
Oh,
so that'll include like a T-shirt and a water bottle and some other DSC related swag. There's a nice
something like this, right? So just to give a reference, I think Bew's also wearing it, something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get a nice shirt, you get a cool bag, and some Android goodies, like an Android, little cute little Android guy.
Yeah, something like this. It's pretty good.
Is that the what? Is that the?
It's pretty cool.
Lego ones or?
What was that?
Sorry, I'm trying to swap to your screen. So is it like one of those Lego ones?
This. It's not actually Lego. It looks like Lego, but it's actually not Lego.
Oh, right.
But it does move around, so it just moves space and stuff. Pretty cool.
Wait, is your one more interactive than mine?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just when I'm working, let it run.
My one doesn't spin around. Damn it. My God.
Spin it. Let's go.
That's a raw. No, I'm just joking. Anyways, so how about we spin the wheel and we'll see who gets lucky today. So don't blame me if you don't like this code, but no.
Oh, it's rigged.
I trust it. It looks trustworthy enough. Let's see how we go. All right, so Isaac.
All right, congratulations.
Let's spin it again. Ooh. There we are. That's great. Okay. Now make sure to get you all to just get in touch with us at the end, and then we'll get these things sent through to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject here. Like, the winners, could you please just message me your email so I can follow up later? Yeah.
Yeah, do let Justrat know. She's going to get you guys all sorted out.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. All right. All right, so it looks like you, Glover, are the lucky recipient. So we've got 3 more now.
Ooh, almost.
Okay. Emily, all right. All right. Wonderful. All right, so that 2 more.
2 more.
I'm right on the line. All right, that one's Edgar. Nice work. Awesome. All right, 1 more. All right, Desi Shu. All right, so for those of you that have unfortunately not gotten lucky today, don't worry, because we'll have plenty of swag coming up in the next sessions as well to give away. So it's very likely that you will get lucky and score yourself a bit of DSC swag in those sessions. So look, I'm really thankful for everyone coming today. It's really great to see people turn up. I want to ask, is there any questions that you guys have for us in the meantime? Anything that you want to ask about the study jams or the code labs or anything like that?
I reckon a question that I'd like to ask, and I'm one of the hosts, but I'll just ask anyway because I think people haven't actually talked yet much. But I think so. For people who haven't won, how are we looking into the? When are we hosting the next events?
So we will be looking to host the next event in about 2 to 3 weeks. So we are giving a month currently as the expected deadline for those of you who want to go ahead.
And I reckon that's
And
plenty of
start with-
time. Yeah, that's plenty of time. And you have the opportunity, as you saw, to earn badges really quickly. You can actually sit down and actually finish the whole unit one in like almost less than like 2-3 hours. Yeah, so I think it's pretty good, and you'll be learning a lot as well because Android development is a really big thing. And if you want to build apps in general, or if you want to actually go ahead and work for some for an organization like Google or something like that, they're always hiring Android developers. So I reckon it's a really good experience and really good thing to know.
And I think not just that, but I believe, especially as a uni student, you might not be interested in becoming an Android developer, but I think if you're interested in generally becoming a software developer, it really, really helps to be able to build a basic website, build a basic Android/iPhone app, just to have a rudimentary understanding of how it all works. Now, it gets very complicated very quick, as many things do in life, but I think just understanding that, say if you want to become a back-end developer in the future, it's going to help you understand what the guys do on the other side of the cubicle, so to say. So I think it's really worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And I was going to also mention that there's a $75 JB Hi-Fi voucher. There's actually 2 of them. And that will be awarded to the first person who finishes each of the streams.
So first 2, right? We've got 2, so first 2.
Yes.
And
so
people who haven't won, go grab them. Work hard and go grab them.
So for whoever completes, and so all you need to do is just to send us your Google developer profile. You can message either 3 of us. That's totally fine. Just send us the link to your profile. We'll just quickly verify that you've got the badge for completing the course, and then we'll award you the JB Hi-Fi voucher.
And I reckon it's worth mentioning on how to actually share the Google profile. So, I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and we'll just go.
Yeah, go ahead. That'd be great.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question because
so
it's private.
We're actually going over and so if you were to look at this, I was actually going over and doing it in sign up mode. So if you're actually working really hard and doing everything, but you forgot to sign in, Google will keep your progress in track, but it will sort of lose it after if you shut down your computer. So if you're on the website and if you're already on a page, jump over here quickly and sign in. Sign in with your ID. I've got 2, and you're in. And once you're in, and once you've got that, you can just jump over here. And I reckon the Google accounts view, the email ID are actually good enough in a sense to provide us an idea of what they're doing as well.
Probably, actually.
Yeah. So, but if you go over here, Google Developer Profile,
you can just type in their email
and sign in. Once you do that, you'll see a page for yourself, private page sort of thing. And let's just wait for it to come up. So this is where we will be looking at your badges. So if I were to find your profile on the internet, this is private, but there is a my profile section which is public. You'll be able to see all the badges. So Android Study Jams participant, if you joined us, you'll be able to see this on your screen. Now, this is your public profile. Oh wait, that's still private. Let me just bring up the public one. View, where's the button that allows you to make this public?
Maybe go to settings. And then go to account.
Oh, actually, I've already got an account in here. I think I lost it. Maybe you can check. Maybe I can go and copy this and run this in an incognito tab. See what happens.
Best way to test.
Yeah, it's a good way to test whether or not. Oh, okay. So it doesn't actually bring it up. Might have to see.
Go to click the settings things next to your name, where you were before. As in, go back to my profile, and there's the settings icon.
Just that one. Okay, so just stuff like this. Can you share this? Can you share the?
What we'll do, guys, is we'll figure it out. And then
Actually, quick Google.
Yeah.
How to share Google developer profile. So Google event, so we'll just Google. Yeah, so Google Developers Console. So we're looking at Google Developers Profile. Let me just see if create a Google Developers Profile. So already created. Okay, maybe I have to set it up.
Click the.
So DSC. Wow, it's notifying me that my battery's low. I'm trying to charge it.
If you just scroll up to the top for a sec.
Yeah.
There's an info icon.
Yeah, it's not clickable.
Oh well, look, guys. Don't worry about it. What we'll do is we'll just update you guys shortly, and if any of you have an issue sending us your profile, we'll sort it out with you. Just don't worry about it. I'm sure this is just one silly, stupid button. I don't want us to have to sit here for this.
Yeah, I think we'll find it out and we'll update you on the channels, the workshop channels. But for now, I guess we can just get started. And yeah.
I'm gonna have to head off soon. I was just wondering where I would find the next study jams.
Yeah, so
The announcements when they come out.
have you signed up to the DSC chapter at your uni?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so the best way to keep up to date with the different events is probably to sign up for the DSC chapter, just because you'll get an email when we've got new events, and also at the end of this event, you'll get an email as well with a summary with things like the links and stuff. So it'll probably just make your life a lot easier.
Which uni are you from?
Macquarie Uni. Thing is, though, I'm gonna finish in I am finished, but
just want to learn a bit. Yeah,
yeah, I do want to learn a bit before as I head into the workforce.
I'd say, Anthony, even the best way, I update you guys all through the events announcement in the Discord channel.
Okay.
The Macquarie DSC. Okay. And then the other place I often will let you guys know is by getting the MAX, Macquarie Computing Society, just to put out.
That's actually where I found this study jam. So would you be continuing to put DSCs on there?
I pretty much generally will. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's I found, as you said, it's the easiest way to get in touch with people from Macquarie generally. I put it on Facebook and stuff too, but yeah.
Okay.
No one pays attention.
Yeah, I think in the chat as well, Just Curate sent a message. So there's links where the ones you can use to actually join the respective DSCs for your university. So you can use that to find out your university as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I would appreciate if you guys obviously signed up to the DSC, because that always it helps us just to be able to get in touch with you guys and stuff. That's why it's there.
Absolutely.
Just want to ask one more thing. Sorry, is the next study jams going to be a continuation of each other, or do they just cover specific separate topics?
So the next one will be a continuation. I believe what we will do is, depending on how many of you are interested in the new programming stream or the prior programming stream, we will then decide. So we can probably do a quick poll, actually, even right now.
And also a quick mention of the fact that we have Solutions Challenge coming up. And the Solutions Challenge is an opportunity for everyone to actually be able to sign up and solve problems at a global scale, which is what Google is known for. So if you were to sign up and solve problems through Solutions Challenge, you'll be making an impact globally, and you can also win a lot of prizes. Right now, you get goodies, but from Solutions Challenge, you get cash prizes, Google goodies in terms of tech goodies, and also swag. So I reckon it's a great opportunity to not only reward yourself, but also develop something that affects a lot of people in a global scale. And that's where the Android study jams are also trying to impact people, so that you can actually be able to build Android apps for the Solutions Challenge, because you have a variety of options available: making a website, making an app, a machine learning opportunity as well. So anything.
Right, so it looks like we're sitting at about 50-50. So thanks everyone for answering. So we'll run obviously both streams then.
Maybe you can divide the program into two parts, where one, just a couple of DSC leads run the new programming setup, and and we'll do the other ones at the same time, but in different room.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for running it.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a tough time getting in touch with everyone, staying engaged, as I said at the very start of this meeting. So I really appreciate you all for coming. It's, exciting to see the year starting off so well. I'm really excited for the rest of our study jam streams. We're also going to be planning to do the Solutions Challenge. And then at my university, we will be doing cool things on such stuff as functional programming. Might even try to get some of the professors to do a few special demonstrations for us, just so that we can keep busy, keep entertained, and keep engaged in this time and age. So I think that's the best we can do for now. So thanks everyone for coming. And I guess I'll see you all in the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Corey?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.